So, Engineer Muhammad, we're gonna go to the basic for people like us. What is green building means anyway from the beginning, if you don't mind?
I think she just gave a very, very clear example and definition of it.
So
Let me give a bit of more depth
Yeah.
of it. So it's particularly there is net zero buildings, and there is positive green buildings. So in order to understand what is green buildings, let's say you are having a conventional building, any building, and you're using resources in the making of it, in production of it. Even though if we are sitting in this building, it's using energy and we are here.
Yeah.
So if you consider our daily life, we are 90% inside a building, whether it's an office or a house or somewhere, a shopping mall, wherever. Even in the weekends, we are in a building. So you understand we are using a lot of energy, whether it's cooling, heating, or electricity in a general sense. So in this way, when we are thinking globally, the CO2 emissions that is caused by the energy production all over, more than 43% is caused by the buildings.
Oh.
So you understand the building is producing the biggest amount of energy, whereas transportation is somewhere around 25 to 28, and industry is from 30%, something like this. So major amount is by buildings.
So, Engineer Muhammad, are you saying we should care about those green building because it's environment friendly
Yes, exactly.
and it
This is
serve
why-
us in a good way without harming the environment?
Exactly.
Would you mind highlight it more?
Yeah, sure. So what I was saying is the same thing. So when we are constructing a building that
Yes.
is a net zero building, or a net positive building, what do you mean by it? Net zero building is consuming suppose X energy, that it will produce X energy also. For example, it is spending X amount of energy, then it will actually produce X plus amount of energy. This is net plus energy, positive.
Yes.
So like the most of the systems here is we are taking energy from the grid, but in the net plus buildings, it gives back to the grid, and hence we are contributing back to the electricity. We are not spending coal or petroleum or depending on fossil fuels. Now we are using building to generate energy. May it be photovoltaic, may it be wind turbines, or any other process.
We are so going to the future.
Yes.
Yes.
So it is actually, the lessons should be learned from the history. If you look at any vernacular architecture, consider and go to any historical cities, and you will see construction done by mud and everything. There is no use of mechanical or ventilations, no need for heating or cooling. It does by itself. It is activated by its own. The material used in it, it activates by itself. So for example, we are like us, we are active beings. When it is hot, we use lighter clothes. When it's cold, we use hotter clothes. See, in this way, if we see the building, it's very static. It doesn't change unless we switch on mechanical systems to heat it. But if we see vernacular architecture, we don't see such.
We don't see such, no.
If you just go inside, you feel cold in warm climate.
And that's it.
And in a hot climate, you feel cold. So
True.
you enjoy the atmosphere in a vernacular architecture, in a mud house, for example. So if you look at history, we can go to the future, far ahead.
Definitely,
that
100%.
is smart. And
Yeah.
you've talked about that this green building has a lot of resources and a lot of things on it as
Yeah,
well. But
exactly.
but let's ask about. Let me ask you about, does that cost much than traditional buildings?
Actually, it's more kind of stereotyped right now, and it is like more of a propaganda. If you see a convention building without a solar voltaic or without wind turbines or any energy producing, natural energy producing elements on it, and then you see a convention building. When you compare the two costs, of course, with the photovoltaic and the turbines, initial cost is much higher. You will say, I can build in X amount, and here I have to pay Y amount. And why should I pay more than here? I don't need this. And when you see the life cycle cost of the building in cost of maintenance, in terms of energy, electricity, lights, daylights, and cooling and heating of the building, you will see that this will actually save in that amount.
But there's something I should ask you about. How I can say this is a green material or not. You're talking about tradition and how I can pay expensive or less, but what about the material? How can I predict this one is green, this one is not green? We are not expert in this.
Yes, but actually if you apply common rules to it, I'm talking about in general, for anyone. You don't have to be an engineer, or you don't have to be, because we use everyday materials. For example, if we are importing material from China, and that material is like, suppose, an AC that you're getting here, that material think about the resources that it has spent. First of all, the production. You don't know how it was produced, in what environment it was produced. Second, what kind of resources we used to bring it here, the logistics. So you understand you're losing a great deal of money from when you purchase it from outside. Then suppose that same AC was built here in Saudi. You know, the raw components were used here, the production was done here. You cut down the logistic amount, you cut down all the petrol prices. So this is the first term rule: decrease from foreign, increase the local power. And now you are giving the local people their power. Not only that, you're powering the economy of the local businessmen. So this is the first term rule. Second point is, when you're looking at the materials, just think what kind of materials that is used. For example, if I'm using any kind of wood, so what kind of wood? So am I deforesting? Am I cutting plants to create this furniture? Or am I using a recycled material to create this furniture?
Of course recycle.
Yeah.
So it has to be.
You can actually compare by thumb rules that what is happening with my material. You don't have to look at the specifications right now. I'm just in basic general.
We're talking about going green in general.
Yeah. If you see it, any material, for example, if you are buying a cement, okay? If you're buying a cement and you are saying the cement is green, I think so, because it's sand and stone and water.
It is.
Something like that. So you can just check the specifications. You can say, this chemical seems inappropriate. I don't need this kind of chemicals in my house. I can buy this one. So in that way,
so this is what mean green. It's not.
Yes,
okay.
and which is actually, you said about the recycling, and that the green building basically it uses up its own resources in a constant way, while the traditions are not. So what about the recycling materials? Which is always better? Is it the recycling materials or the natural materials?
Oh, by the way, recycling materials. All the world is going for this.
Yes.
What do you think?
Exactly. Recycling material is a good. In a way, it is good. But you can't produce material that you will say it will be recycled and hence use more of energy and recycling. Not always all recycled materials are good. So in a way, you must find out which recycled material is better for you. Maybe it is 100% recyclable is better for you.
Okay.
And when you go for natural material, you can say, okay, this is recyclable right now. It is biodegradable. So you can opt for this kind of materials, which is biodegradable or 100% recyclable. Not you will get a 10% recyclable and 90% goes to waste. Then it is useless as well.
So we're going to say recycle, it depends.
Yes.
It depends to sometimes and sometimes not.
Exactly.
But, okay, this is all about the materials. We're talking about the greenhouse and the materials of building.
Exactly.
What about the designing? If I like green by the designing of the buildings, it's challenging. What do you think about this?
Yes. Actually,
very tricky, by the way, the designing.
It is very exciting as well.
If you look at the design and the orientation of the building in the beginning, let's suppose you're constructing a square building, and you will see that buildings behind the square buildings will be blocked by the sun or wind. You're blocking them. One side will have full solar power or wind direction in its way. Others will not have that, south or west point of it, right?
Very true.
So when you design the building, the orientation and massing of the building, how you design it, will actually affect in the beginning. So you don't have to waste your money in mechanical or artificial lighting. You can use natural lighting, you can use natural ventilation. This is called passive design systems and principles that can be implemented in the building from the initial design. So when you design it initially to be good, it can be good.
So, Engineer Muhammad, what's going on nowadays, actually, when you go to the villas and buildings, we kind of predict they put like a big spot instead of putting lighting, the ceiling. What do you think about this way of designing? Is it healthy? Is it environment friendly green?
It is actually, yes.
It
And
is.
it's also the, for example, if you're in a room with full of windows, and imagine all the sunlight blurring at you,
Ugh.
you will be tired. You'll
Overwhelming.
be too much tired.
Yeah, too much light is hurting.
Yeah, and you're tired because of constant light. So
Yeah.
we as human beings, we need constant regulations in this, right?
Balance.
Yeah, you need a balance. So you need dark and you need light. That's why we have day and night. So in order to, not just for us, for our as a human nature, as a human body,
For
we
our
need
eyes also
Yes,
to be
true.
really
we need
fine.
to be regulated. So I think in that way, if the design is properly considered, all the lux calculations has been done. So I think it can be good and at the same time bad.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've talked about the design. So what is the advances of the technology and design, and as well as material that helped this architecture to move forward?
I think the current, the basic I can tell is about the internet. Internet has the biggest breakthrough I have seen. I have seen people coming from the most isolated areas and know about their region, their wind conditions, their solar potentials, and they can use it. Okay, so the availability of information region to region has helped a lot. For example, if I am going to design one building in Riyadh, for example, if you see any buildings, whether it's in UK, in Riyadh or in Singapore, you'll start to see the similar kind of glass facades and
The usual
monotonic.
modern, yeah.
Monotonic. But when specific architects get regional knowledge about the wind power, the solar, the orientations they can use, so it's much better. So one of the biggest advance breakthrough is by availability of information. Second, there is different kind of softwares available right now in the market. We are calling them BIM softwares, Building Information Management softwares.
Okay.
These kind of softwares help you analyze the building in a model scale. You don't have to implement in reality, but you can actually check it. You can see what will happen if an earthquake comes, what will happen when the wind blows, what will happen if
Like
we
a
have
practical buildings.
Exactly.
For everything.
Exactly.
Oh, that's really nice.
So okay, in this case, this leads me to another question, by the way, and I'm so,
Sure.
I think it's reality bites, sometime we call it. Does all the buildings has to be green?
Actually, yes and no.
Oh, thank you. That's what I need to hear. Yes and no. What's going on?
Actually, if the good design will actually create sustainable design. A sustainable design not only means it is helping the environment, but the user friendly as well. For example, we will see many buildings actually constructed for residence purposes and later on moved to an office. So you can see a lot of changes is going to happen. So if I make a green building for residence and later on it is moved for office, it's useless, it's functionless.
It has to do nothing. No.
It has to do
Yeah.
that. So if I have to define the perfect function for a general use, so we can go ahead with that one.
So
I
it depends on the
Yeah.
situation, huh?
Yes,
Definitely.
exactly.
Well, that
And,
was really nice information about green, going green, but not all the time we go green. Sometime we go green, sometime we need to be not green. So it depends to the use and situation.
Yes, exactly.
Like you eat some vegetables and fast food from once in a while, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yes,
Well,
yes,
thank you so
exactly.
much for being here with us, Engineer Muhammad Quadri.
I'm glad. Thank you for
he is
having me.
It's great to have you as
Thank you
well.
for having
And
me.
he's
Yes,
an architectural engineer, and he talks about
Exactly.
greenhouse, and we say, yeah, we can go green, but hey, it depends on the situation. We're going to go now for a national song, and come with us after that. We're going to me and Sahar and talk about more.